He was an instructor-class hunter. Asher had a choice: find ecstasy at the end of his gun or find death. He wondered which Cade preferred. Later, as choked sobs broke from his lips, Cade's heated breath ghosted over his skin. Cade asked if he wanted another round or a bullet. He told him to be a good boy and choose. Asher's vision blurred, a profound exhaustion settling deep in his bones. He couldn't believe this was what Cade called instructing. As a vampire, Asher's first night undercover at the Hunters Military Academy presented a challenge unlike any he had ever faced. His roommate was intoxicating. When Cade emerged from the bathroom, bare-chested and glistening with water, Asher found it impossible to restrain his thirst. His gaze locked onto the younger man's powerful form, tracing the network of veins beneath the taut muscle. A desperate dryness seized his throat. Cade met his intense stare, a sound of annoyance clicking in his throat before he casually draped a towel over his shoulders. He closed the distance between them with a heavy tread, his large frame cornering Asher against the wall. The proximity was devastating. The aroma of his blood, a fatally sweet perfume, overwhelmed Asher's senses. He swallowed hard again, the motion involuntary. Cade's eyes fixed on the frantic movement of Asher's throat. He observed that Asher seemed famished. Asher shook his head, though his eyes drifted down, unable to tear away from the curve of Cade's pectoral muscles. Biting was out of the question, but the thought of a single taste sent a wave of heat through his body. His breathing grew ragged, the corners of his eyes turning crimson with restraint. Cade's cool gaze swept over him, and he spoke slowly, the words hanging in the air. He started to ask if Asher was a vam. Asher's heart leaped into his throat. Exposed on the first day. Into men. Cade finished his question. Asher froze, the tension draining out of him in a sudden rush. Faced with being outed as gay or as a vampire, the choice was simple. He decided to lean into it, reaching out to touch his imposing roommate's chest and letting out a low whistle. "Yeah. So, can I have a lick?" The next thing he knew, he was on the floor. Cade's fingers dug into his neck, pinning him to the bed as a fist slammed down next to his head. The impact made him wince. Cade's ears were flushed as he delivered a cold, calling him a pervert and threatening to gouge out his eyes if he ever looked at him that way again. It was only later that Asher discovered Cade was the son of the Academy's commandant. A heavy sigh escaped him. He'd managed to antagonize the most important person on campus from the very start. After that incident, Cade constantly watched him with a frigid, wary expression, as if guarding against some unseen threat. Asher lived on edge, terrified of any misstep that might reveal his true nature. He had to sneak his emergency rations, packets of blood plasma, into the bathroom during his showers. One evening, after Cade finished his own shower, Asher eagerly grabbed his towel and a plasma packet and disappeared into the steam-filled bathroom. He tore open the foil, whispering how good it smelled. An hour later, flushed pink from the heat, he checked to ensure no trace of the blood scent remained before daring to open the door. Cade was leaning against the frame, his presence immediately oppressive. He directed a sharp look at Asher, noting that he always took so long, and muttered about how good things smelled. He demanded to know what illicit activities Asher was engaged in. Asher's heart hammered against his ribs. He couldn't believe Cade had been eavesdropping. It seemed impossible that he could smell the blood, but Asher defensively denied doing anything, his guilt preventing him from meeting Cade's eyes. A blush crept up his neck. Cade's own ears reddened as he snarled, calling him a little pervert before turning and stalking away, leaving Asher bewildered. As long as his secret was safe, he decided Cade could call him whatever he wanted. But his luck ran out. One evening, a sharp knock rattled the bathroom door while he was in the middle of consuming a packet. Cade's cold voice cut through the door, announcing he was coming in for an inspection. In his panic, Asher nearly choked. He coughed, spitting the half-finished packet out, and watched in horror as it slid down the shower drain. His dinner was gone. There was no time to mourn. The pounding continued. Cade gave him a 3-second countdown before he kicked the door in. 3. Asher frantically turned on the water, trying to wash away the scent. 2. Most of the metallic tang was gone, leaving only a faint trace. 1. Just as Cade was about to force the door, Asher opened it, forcing a smile. His face was flushed and he was breathing heavily from the stress, praying Cade wouldn't notice anything. Cade's nostrils flared. His brow furrowed as his gaze swept over Asher, then moved downward. Asher quickly clutched the towel tighter around his waist, asking meekly what was wrong. Cade's dark eyes bored into him, and he made a sound of disgust, remarking on the foul smell. A chill went through Asher, his face paling. This was it. He was caught. But the next moment, a mocking expression crossed Cade's face. He declared Asher a true deviant, doing that every night in the bathroom right after he'd used it. He asked if Asher was really that obsessed with him. Before Asher could process the relief, Cade turned and left. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Hunger gnawed at him. Cade slept in the bed across the room. A vampire's night vision was superb, and with Cade's eyes closed, Asher felt bold enough to study him openly. He stared at the powerful arm resting outside the covers, the pulse beating steadily beneath the skin. The hunger became a physical ache, making his breath come in short, hot gasps and his body tremble. He was so thirsty. He just wanted a taste, a single bite. As if mesmerized, he found himself climbing out of his bed and onto Cade's. Just one secret taste while he slept. He leaned in close, his face hovering over Cade's neck. Just as his tongue was about to make contact, a pair of eyes snapped open in the darkness. A low voice vibrated from above. "What do you think you're doing, you little pervert?" Caught. Asher tried to flee, but a hand clamped around his neck, pressing him firmly back onto the mattress. The voice was a low growl beside his ear, asking who gave him the nerve to crawl into his bed in the middle of the night. Asher's courage evaporated. He apologized immediately, but being this close, Cade's scent was a potent lure, stirring a frantic desire within him. The sound of blood flowing through veins was a siren's call. Thirst overwhelmed his reason once more. He licked his lips and asked Cade if he could just have a little taste. Cade cursed him under his breath and raised his fist. Asher flinched, bracing for the blow, but the expected pain never came. Instead, Cade's fist slammed into the headboard. He then grabbed Asher by the shoulders and hauled him under the covers. Cade's body was a cage, trapping him completely. The low, rough voice warned him that if he said anything like that again, he'd get a beating. For now, he was to go to sleep. Asher's face was pressed against Cade's warm muscle, the proximity making his mouth water. Sleep was even further away now. He waited until Cade's breathing evened out into a steady rhythm, and then he couldn't resist any longer. He pressed his tongue to Cade's skin. It was exquisite. Afraid of waking him, he didn't dare bite, contenting himself with dampening the skin over his chest. In the darkness, Cade's eyelids fluttered, but they remained closed. In the morning, Asher felt something hard pressing against his back. Realization dawned, and his face went white. He had only licked him a little. Why was Cade pressing the cold barrel of his silver pistol against him? How could he be so vigilant as to sleep with a gun in his bed? Vampires had an instinctual terror of a hunter's weapon. He trembled, carefully inching away from the muzzle before slipping out of bed. He let out a long breath. Another day survived. It wasn't easy. The Academy's training regimen was intense. Thanks to his vampire physiology, Asher excelled in all physical tests. The sun was his only real weakness. He was a rare hybrid, one of the few who could withstand daylight, but it still caused him agony. It felt as if his entire body was being roasted over an open flame. At its worst, he could feel the phantom sensation of his dormant ears, tail, and wings trying to burst forth. When he was first given the undercover assignment, he had pleaded with his master, the Regent. He told him he wasn't afraid of the sun, but he was afraid of dying. The man on the throne had simply wrapped a cold hand around his neck, his expression unchanging. He had asked if Asher preferred to die now or go undercover. Choking, Asher had fallen to his knees, gasping that he would go. The Regent released him with a satisfied smile, then sliced open his own finger and held it to Asher's lips. Asher had latched on without hesitation. The Regent called him a good child and stroked his hair, explaining that this was his reward. He was tasked with retrieving a new anti-vampire drug developed at the Academy. As a hybrid, Asher required periodic feedings of pureblood vampire blood to keep from degenerating into a mindless beast. The Hunter Academy's ultimate goal was the eradication of all hybrids. If he were exposed here, death was certain. One day, after standing in formation under the sun for too long, waves of burning pain washed over him. During a break, Cade glanced at his pale face and sneered, remarking how pathetic he was to be so affected by simple drills. The next moment, Asher collapsed against him. Cade's body went rigid. He scowled down at him, demanding to know what he was doing, accusing him of faking it. Trembling in his arms, Asher begged to be taken back to the dorms. He was so hot and needed to get into the shade. Cade didn't move, just stared down at him. The sun continued its relentless assault. The heat was so intense he felt his true form straining to emerge. Desperate not to be exposed, not to die, he clutched Cade's uniform like a lifeline just as he felt the tips of his ears begin to prickle. He pleaded with him. A muscle worked in Cade's jaw. He finally steadied Asher with a hand on his waist, cursing under his breath about how delicate he was. On the way back, Asher leaned gratefully into his embrace. Cade's tall frame provided a welcome shield from the sun, and the searing heat began to subside. He carried Asher to his bed in the dorm. Asher felt drained, his limbs limp and heavy. Cade frowned, placing a hand on his forehead and remarking on how hot he was. Sunstroke, he diagnosed. His palm was cool, and Asher instinctively leaned into the touch. Cade snatched his hand back, his face flushing as he muttered about how Asher was still trying to seduce him even in this state. Asher's eyelids felt heavy. A moment later, he felt something cool and damp on his forehead. Cade helped him sit up, propping him against his chest. He gently wiped Asher's forehead and face with a wet towel, murmuring to himself that for a guy. His skin was incredibly smooth. As he wiped down to his collarbone, Cade's gaze darkened. He reached for the top button of Asher's shirt, his voice a low rasp as if trying to convince himself. He was just trying to cool him down, he said, telling Asher not to get any ideas. Asher felt his buttons being undone, the cool cloth gliding over his neck, chest, and back. Cade was behind him now, his warm breath tickling his ear. He commented on how pale his skin was, how thin his waist was. He told him he needed to eat more, then ordered him to hold still and stop rubbing against him. The towel felt wonderful, and Asher couldn't help but press against it. Cade held his shoulders firmly and brought a glass of water to his lips, telling him to drink. Asher's mind was hazy. He didn't want water. He wanted blood. He reluctantly stuck out his tongue and took a small sip. A muscle jumped in Cade's throat. His voice was husky as he commanded him not to lick, but to drink all of it. After that day, Cade's behavior changed. He went from avoiding Asher to constantly being in his space. He made Asher eat with him, ran beside him during training, and claimed him as a partner for any team-based assignments. He even insisted they sleep in the same bed. When Asher weakly protested, Cade's dark eyes would fix on him intently. He claimed he was worried Asher might collapse again and, as his roommate, it was his duty to keep an eye on him. In the dark, Asher would stare at the veins in Cade's neck, swallowing hard. The scent of him was a constant temptation. One night when